on? It's your boy BT, and we are live again for the second time here on True School Sports. And I came to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, where's my brethren all around the world watching this video? Hope you're having a great day today as you're tuning in. Make sure you do yourself a damn favor and hit that subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. Now, we're here. This will be a shorter live. This will be a shorter hangout than the first one. Gotta make sure that my settings are right. Let me see make sure my settings are right, cause I don't see anybody here yet. But this will be a shorter hangout. Okay, there's somebody here. Okay, so this will be a shorter hangout than the last one. But I wanted to touch on the reported numbers for Mikey Garcia and Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. You know, this is a big fight for the hardcore boxing fan community. It was one that I was very excited about because I spent a lot of time covering Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia over the last couple years. And with that being said, their number there, the number that was reported out there, all right, the number that was reported out there by Mr. Michael Coppinger, a guy that's, pretty well respected in the boxing game as a journalist. He said that this fight definitely did over 300,000. I'll read you guys what I have in front of me. So Michael Coppinger said that Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. pulled in 300,000 pay-per-view buys, right? Now, he said that the final number, because there isn't an exact reported number out there, he said that the final number is expected to be between 350,000 pay-per-view buys and 400,000 pay-per-view buys, which, if it is true, I have to say if because we don't really know these things, but if it is true, that is a massive success for both of them. It's both their first pay-per-views. Two, neither one of these guys is really a crossover transcendent star like that. So I take it as a wild success for Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. if it's true, but we don't know if it's true. And I have I have my doubts about it being true for one, because neither one of these guys is really a big name like that. I mean, I know they had the Fox machine. I know they had Fox pushing the fight on all their platforms, even Fox News, and I just find it really hard. But the way those numbers break down and the way those numbers grade out, if you're wondering, because we should have an exact figure by the end of the week. So at minimum, right, the number they were saying is 300,000 pay-per-view buys. If the fight did do 300,000 pay-per-view buys, then that means that they would have generated $22.5 million just from pay-per-view alone. Now, give me one second. Hold on, my throat's a bit dry. I've been freaking talking all day. Been hard at work today here on True School Sports. What I was saying though is this: at worst, right? If 300,000 is the worst, right? Then that means at $75 a pop for a pay-per-view that they will have generated $22.5 million. So that's one of them. Okay. If it's at 350,000 pay-per-view buys, then that means that they've generated $26.2 million based off pay-per-views. Okay, and then for 375K, that's $28.1 million. For 400K, if they somehow get to that number, that's $30 million generated in revenue. So the range you're looking at right now is from $22.5 million to $30 million. And I think that's a success for them. You also have to factor in that, more importantly, at the gate, in the stands, this fight did really well. It was very well supported because you had Mikey Garcia, a Mexican champion, with a good fan base, fighting the local guy, the rising star in Errol Spence at Cowboy Stadium. So this fight, in terms of the actual card itself, let's start with the undercard. The undercard might be one of the worst undercards I can think of in a long time, and that's putting it very mildly and putting it very nicely. It was a piss poor undercard from top to bottom. There was not one competitive matchup on the entire undercard, and whoever put the undercard together needs to be fired. Like today, they need to be fired. But so really there was nobody on the undercard where you can say, well, that guy's gonna carry the undercard and that guy's gonna sell tickets, and that there was a couple local Dallas fighters, like you had guys like Gregory Corbin. Big shout out to Gregory Corbin, even though he got destroyed by Charles Martin. He was on the card. He's a local Dallas guy. You had Adrian Taylor, a local Dallas guy, but none of those guys are big enough to carry the card on their own or add any intrigue to the card itself. So this fight was literally, if it sold, anything it sold was based solely on the main event. There were no undercards to pull these guys in. And by the way, it's your boy BT. It's 6:47 p.m. here in South Florida. We're live here from Dania. For the 6 of you that are here right now, make sure you drop your comments down below. What city, what state, what continent are you streaming from tonight? As always, you know, we're in Dania, Florida. But going back to the Spence fight, you know, whatever this fight did, you know, it was because of the pay-per-view, because of the main event alone, not because of anything else. Hold on, my throat is like mad dry. Jesus. So, if you're wondering how the reported numbers stack up to some recent pay-per-views or maybe pay-per-views of the past, I'll give you guys the numbers right here. So, Pacquiao Broner, that did about 400K pay-per-view buys, but see, that's a more of a believable number because Pacquiao is you know, a big pay-per-view star. He's been on many pay-per-views. He's sold well on many pay-per-views. So he can carry a pay-per-view on his own. You know, if I'm not mistaken, when he fought Jesse Vargas, their pay-per-view did about 300 or 400,000 buys. And Vargas is really a nobody in comparison to that of an Errol Spence Jr. So with that being said, you know, he did 400, or Broner, I should say. So he did 400K in his fight against Broner. Broner also has a good following as well. You know, it was his first pay-per-view. They did about 400K pay-per-view buys. That's what was reported. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, which, by the way, I might add, was one of the cheaper pay-per-views in recent memory. I believe it was about $50 or $65, something like that. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I remember it being like $50. That did 325,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay, so you have that. Joshua Klitschko, which was a box office success in the UK, that did 1.53 million pay-per-view buys in the UK, and it also is worth noting that in the UK, pay-per-views are very cheap in comparison to America. You know, their pay-per-views usually go around the range of $30 to $35 from what I hear, sometimes even lower. And then to give you guys a throwback reference, when Floyd Mayweather had his pay-per-view against Arturo Thunder Gotti, that did 340,000 pay-per-view buys. So, you know, this fight is about at that Mayweather Gotti level in terms of the box office success, and if that is the case, that is a massive success for Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia. So there you have it, man. That boy 26 says weak card, main event was decent but expected from the bigger guy. Yeah, overall the whole card top to bottom was very underwhelming. From the undercards to the main event, you know, I think it might be, numbers aside, in terms of what actually took place in the ring, it might be one of the worst pay-per-views I bought in a long time. And I'm not trying to, you know, talk trash about Spence or Garcia, but I'm just being honest. You know, like Future said in that one song, I'm just being honest, straight up. So overall, it was a good success. You know, one thing I find very interesting, if these numbers are true, and if this fight does even as little as 350,000 pay-per-view buys, it would still be more successful at the box office than Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder is, and that's interesting when you consider that pay-per-view was about, if my memory serves me correctly, and it was $50 or $65. You know, it was anywhere from $10 to $20 cheaper. It was a big heavyweight fight. And you know, this pay-per-view seems to have been a much more bigger success than Wilder versus Fury. And so what exactly is that saying about Deontay Wilder and his ability to sell pay-per-views or lack of ability to sell pay-per-views? You see what I'm saying? So, because he's a heavyweight, he was fighting a guy who can talk a lot in Fury, and they didn't really do like a big number like that, and it was a cheap pay-per-view. So that's that. But overall, I think it was a success because there was nobody else on the undercard to carry this event. There was nobody else on the undercard that could generate interest in this event. This was an expensive pay-per-view for a fight that really, to tell you the truth, should have been on regular Fox. And Fox did their part, you know, big shout out to Fox. They did their part, you know, I watched a couple of other sporting events that were on Fox platforms, and it was everywhere. Like, it was everywhere. You could not escape promotion for this fight. And it sold 47,000 plus tickets at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. So overall, just a really good fight for them. Now, the question you got to ask yourselves is this. Now that Spence has had his pay-per-view, and you saw what he's capable of doing, what would a fight against that of a Manny Pacquiao do? Well, what could it do, you know, at the box office? And I would say this. I think about Manny Pacquiao for Errol Spence Jr. at the box office would do somewhere in the range of 550,000 to 800,000 pay-per-view buys. I think it would absolutely smash the box office, because if you're doing that much for Garcia, okay, and they put a lot of promotion into this, I can't imagine what they could do if they put that same fight on Fox with the same promotion, with a known name, a known commodity, and a world wide icon like Manny Pacquiao, you know. And with Spence being a big guy, getting a lot of hype after this fight, you know, I could definitely see him being a big success. But I'm not gonna lie, man, it's just hard for me to. Nah, I titled it. Okay, the reason I titled it Inflated is because I don't know, man. For me, I have a hard time believing that they really sold that many pay-per-views. You know, if that's the case, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm actually, like, I'm not even trying to hate on Spence or Garcia or Fox, PBC. If that is the case, then I'm just genuinely, I'm genuinely surprised. I'm happy. I'm happy for both Spence and Garcia that they both came out safe on the night, that they both got paid really well and they'll get paid really well, and that they both made a good move for their careers. That's why I'm saying that. And I'm saying it's inflated because, you know, you got to take, because the numbers that was being reported, it came from Michael Coppinger, who is a reliable source for boxing news. But then you also got to just use your thinking cap for a second. Michael Coppinger works for PBC. He works for Fox. So it's very likely that they could use him as a means to inflate their own numbers and make their event look better. So I'm just saying that's probably why I put the word inflated in my title, straight up. But I think Pacquiao versus Spence would be a box office success, a smash hit. You would have the old champion, the old boxing legend, who's still a very good fighter in his own right, challenging the young, undefeated, body punching, tough Texan at Cowboy Stadium. I think it's a great fight. I think it'd be a great fight. That one for me, no doubt about it. At that fight on a bad day, that fight's doing 550K pay-per-view buys. No doubt about it. Particularly if they, you know, I don't even think it matters what the price point is, as long as they don't go anything north of $75, then I think they're okay. But it's your boy BT, True School Sports. We're here in the building. It's 6:54 p.m. here on the East Coast. We are live. Drop your comments down below for those of you that are here right now. This one's gonna be a lot shorter than the one I had earlier, but I wanted to read you guys a post I had from that I had in front of me. Where is it? Where is it at? Where you at? I had a post in front of me here from my main man, Rick Glazier, a guy who is very well connected in the business of boxing, and I'm gonna read to you guys this post that I have here in front of me on Facebook. He said the following. He said, I quote, "Interesting. Spence Garcia pay-per-view numbers are being floated around to the media, are actually in the real vicinity. Unlike Richard Schaefer's statement, Unlike Richard Schaefer's statement to the media on Friday, where he said that it's tracking at over 1 million pay-per-view buys, that Schaefer statement was laughable. I won't have an official number till Friday, but my calculations are showing easily over 300,000 pay-per-view buys, and maybe as high as 340,000. It's an excellent number if you solely take into account that it was both Errol and Mikey's first time as headliners on pay-per-view. On the flip side, the numbers isn't very good and should have been higher because Fox really hyped the event on every Fox platform. I mean every Fox platform, even including Fox News. Coupled with a lot of shoulder programming that Fox provided, the numbers should have been a lot higher. Hurting the pay-per-view number were two things: huge college basketball games on Saturday night, leading off March Madness, and a huge live crowd in attendance of 47,000. If a fight in Vegas brings 18,000 for a huge event, that means 29,000 more people bought tickets to this event than normal. And of those 29,000, 50,000 would have bought pay-per-view, which is 5% of the total pay-per-view buys. That's pretty significant. We'll get the real number more than likely on Friday, and we'll have it up here as soon as I have it from my TV industry source. So they have it from the man himself, Rick Glazier. So overall, it's a success. You know, I think Errol Spence Jr. needs to go out and you know, credit to him, fair play to him. He called Pacquiao in the ring. He's clamoring for that fight. You know, he's gotten 2 fights at, you know, he had his fight with Carlos Ocampo at the Dallas Cowboys practice facility. He's built a good relationship with Jerry Jones. That he graduated to the Cowboy Stadium. So he's, you know, right now as it stands, Errol Spence Jr. is looking like he's on track to be that next American pay-per-view star. He's got everything laid out right in front of him to become just that. He just fought Garcia in a fight that overachieved, considering the price point and considering the lack of notoriety these guys have outside the realms of hardcore boxing fans. And then now you have a chance to fight the Manny Pacquiao. So overall, it's a success. It's a success for him. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. I want to say this about PBC. I want to say this about Premier Boxing Champions. I think it was a really smart move for them. I see that. I think it was a really smart move by them to basically like not put Dominic Breazeale versus Deontay Wilder on pay-per-view, because you gotta look at it like this. You had Pacquiao Broner pay-per-view in January. You have Spence Garcia pay-per-view in March. So to have to have Wilder versus Dominic Breazeale as a pay-per-view fight, that would have been like tragic. Like I think that fight would have did like below 200,000, because Wilder, I mean, he's more popular than people think, but he's not as popular as PBC would think. So they were smart not to have this fight on pay-per-view and allow Wilder to continue building his name, continue building his, you know, platform, and that's what it is. Let me get to some of these comments. Duke Oden, my main man, Duke Oden. What's up, Duke Oden? He said, I think Terrence Bud Crawford would beat Errol Spence Jr. Absolutely. I mean, to me, that's about as true of a 50-50 fight as you can possibly get in the sport of boxing. And I would really like to see that fight happen at some point. I have my doubts. You know, I just think, I don't know, man. I really doubt that fight will ever happen, but I hope it does, for the sake of boxing and for the sake of the fans. My man Phantom Brawler, or the artist formerly known as Scrap Chat Boxing, he commented saying, I see you finally got that shirt, man. Yeah, well, I got this shirt about a year and some change ago. Well, for those of you who don't know the story of this shirt, there was a subscriber here named Jonathan Sims. Big shout out to Jonathan Sims. Jonathan Sims and I had a bet before the Kell Brook Errol Spence fight, because I was popping a lot of junk about how I thought Kell Brook could win. Because I really did rate Kell Brook highly. And, you know, he was the #1 welterweight at the time Errol fought him. People actually forget that fact. He was undefeated at welterweight, and I thought his style was all wrong for Errol Spence Jr. So I picked him to win. And I bet with this guy, the subscriber, and I told him if Errol Spence Jr. beats Kell Brook, I will buy an Errol Spence Jr. t-shirt. So I was a man of my word. I bought the Errol Spence shirt and I wear it to this day. To this day, like Wilder would say. But yeah, so there's that. LT Green, he said, "What's good, fellas? LDBC in the house." Oh man, I don't know, champ. LT Green, look, if you're here, anybody who's here watching, you know, I appreciate you watching. Not everybody in the LDBC is bad, but y'all have some. A lot of you guys have some pretty messed up views on boxing, but it is what it is, man. It's good to have you here. LT Green, since you're from the LDBC and you probably have a different perspective than I do about Wilder, let me get your perspective, LT Green. What do you think about the Wilder Breazeale and the Wilder DAZN situation, and what do you think about Errol Spence's pay-per-view buys reportedly being at anywhere from 300,000 to 400,000 buys? What do you think about that? And anybody else, just leave your comments down below. It's your boy BT. Let's see. What else are people saying about Errol Spence Jr. on Twitter about his pay-per-view buys and stuff? Because, you know, obviously we care about the sport of boxing. We want the sport of boxing to thrive, and if the sport of boxing is going to thrive, we need fighters that can carry it forward. You know, Pacquiao is not gonna live forever. Mayweather is not gonna be here forever. You know, Anthony Joshua isn't gonna be here forever. So we need people who can carry the sport forward. Let's see. I'm gonna look up Errol Spence on Twitter. Errol Spence Jr. Pay-per-view. PPV buys. PPV buys. Richard Schaefer predicts 50. Richard Schaefer's crazy. So it's interesting now because a lot of people are wondering, like, and this just came into my mind, and let me see, I saw a comment. My main man Christian Lewis, how you doing, champ? He says, how's it going to BT? Errol Spence Jr. is the next pay-per-view star. Hey, he might very well be. I was just telling people, I don't know if you caught what I said earlier, but I think he has the perfect path laid out for him. You know, like, he his 2 fights ago, he fought at the Dallas Cowboys practice facility, which is very, very big. Sold it out there. You know, then he graduated to, and then he fought at the Cowboy Stadium. Sold over 47,000 tickets. And you know, if his numbers are true, and they did anything as low as 350,000 pay-per-view buys, then that would mean that he generated in his first pay-per-view that Errol Spence generated $26.2 million just on pay-per-view alone, and also that he did more buys than Fury and Wilder, and he did more buys than Arturo Gatti versus Floyd Mayweather when they fought. So that would set him up to fight Pacquiao, and you'd be led to believe that with a guy like Pacquiao on the fold, that they could definitely do 500,000 pay-per-view buys at bare minimum. And I think they would smash the box office if they fought. But yeah, what I was saying is this. The fight that hardcore boxing fans are really clamoring to see is Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford. Now, we just saw that Spence did 350,000 supposedly pay-per-view buys. Now, Crawford, ironically enough, if we just compare that to Crawford's first pay-per-view when he fought Victor Postal, Errol Spence Jr. took a massive dump on Terrence Crawford, you know, at the box office. Because for those of you who may remember, Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postal was a pay-per-view fight. It was a fight that Top Rank put on pay-per-view. And that fight did like 50,000 pay-per-view buys. So we're talking about already, if we're just comparing their first pay-per-views, Spence did 300,000, if the number is correct, 350 or higher. He did 300,000 pay-per-view buys more than Terrence Crawford did in his first fight. And you know, to be fair, like my man Duke Oden said, you need a good dancing partner. Postal really wasn't bringing a Mexican fan base to the table, so you gotta give Crawford a little slack. But still, smashed him at the box office. Even if you want to compare to Triple G when he fought Lemieux, when Lemieux fought Triple G, that did about 150,000 pay-per-view buys, and so he smashed Triple G and he smashed Terrence Crawford at the box office. So now you put him in a fold. Well, now you got Crawford in his second pay-per-view. His following has grown since then. He's become the undisputed champion of the welterweight division since then. He's got to deal with ESPN. They're on ESPN pay-per-view. He's fighting a guy in Amir Khan who is a big name. He's got notoriety in the sport of boxing. We'll see, man. Duke Oden says that Spence Khan will not do 350,000 pay-per-view buys. I would agree. I'd be very surprised if they crack 300,000 buys. To be honest with you, I would say that they're gonna do somewhere around 275 and 290. 275, even that might be a bit of a generous number because I just don't think Bud has that star power. But we'll see, man. You know, I haven't really. What's gonna bite that fight in the ass, straight up? What's gonna bite that fight in the ass is, from what I can see, because I watch ESPN a lot. You know, I watch ESPN a lot. You know, I do follow just more than boxing. You know, I'm a big basketball fan. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love the English Premier League. I watch a lot of ESPN. And I have yet to see one commercial. You know, right now as I'm speaking to you guys, it's 7:06 p.m. It's March the 20th. I have not seen one commercial for Terrence Crawford versus Amir Khan, and we're a month out from the fight, and that's very alarming. Their lack of promotion is going to be their undoing. They're trying to build. Bud is going to beat him. They are trying to build Bud using Khan. Khan has a big fan base. Exactly, yeah, he does. And you know, I think it's smart because Terrence Crawford, you know, has lacked a big name in his career. He hasn't had that guy who has that marquee name. Now, obviously, we know this isn't. He's not going to be fighting the Amir Khan that fought Marcos Maidana all those years ago. The Amir Khan with hand speed out this world that was lighting this dude up to the body. Like, he's not fighting that guy, but he's fighting a guy who has a fan base, who has name value, and that's what Crawford needs at this point in his career. And also, it is worth noting too that Keith Thurman even said that, you know, he hasn't fought a guy as good as Amir Khan. And he's fighting Amir Khan now, so Keith Thurman can't say nothing to to Terrence Crawford when he approaches Keith Thurman for a fight. Boxing fan said that he said, True School Sports, how much pay-per-view buys has Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia did? They were saying, it was reported that it's definitely, you know, everything that I've seen from Michael Coppinger, from Rick Glazier, from, you know, reliable sources in boxing, they're saying it's definitely at bare minimum done 300,000 pay-per-view buys. There's no official number out there yet, but they're saying it's between from the numbers I've gotten from Coppinger, from Glazier, they're saying anywhere from 340,000 to 390K or 400K. Pay me no mind. What's up, champ? How you doing? He says, honestly, while the Bud Khan undercard is loaded, the weak undercard for Spence Garcia has me not wanting to even support pay-per-view. Absolutely, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, generally speaking, I pay for all pay-per-views. You know, I like to buy pay-per-views. I like to support boxing, but I'm not gonna lie. This is one pay-per-view right here that I'm happy I did not pay for. This I would have been livid if I had to spend $75 for this crap. Overall, talking about the pay-per-view as a whole, it was really bad. But that Khan Crawford undercard pay-per-view, I'd pay money for it because there's some intriguing fights on the undercard. You know, just off rip. You know, you got Felix Verdejo in a do or die fight against Brian Vasquez. You know, Felix Verdejo loses that fight, he's going to be pretty much irrelevant, and Top Rank will have nothing to do with him. If he wins that fight, then he puts his claim into a potential Vasily Lomachenko fight, and he has a chance to revitalize his career after, you know, what's been a piss poor couple years for him. So you have that. That's number one. Number two, you have Teofimo Lopez, and that right there, that you get my money right there. Teofimo Lopez on the undercard. You know, he's fighting you know, Teofimo Lopez, that's worth enough for me. And then the main event, Khan versus Crawford, and that's just off rip. I haven't even looked at the whole card. That's just off rip. So, I'll buy that card in a heartbeat. Christian Lewis says Bud is a slick boxer. It will be competitive, but I think Spence will put the pressure on Bud and break him down with body shots. I mean, I go back and forth with that fight, man. I really go back and forth with that fight because I sit here and I think to myself, well, what's the one thing Errol Spence does really well? He goes to the body really well. He breaks guys down. But then it's like, I don't know, man. Terrence Crawford's inside fight game has gotten so much better with time. And then he showed me a lot of things in that Jeff Horn fight. You know, Jeff Horn being the bigger man trying to bully him. I know he's not the more skilled fighter, and he's not, you know, skill for skill, he was never going to outskill Terrence Crawford. But I thought there would be that chance for him to give Crawford a test because of the size, because of the way he fights, because he can bully. He's bullied people in the past. You know, he even did it against Pacquiao a little bit. So Crawford showed me a lot when he hung in there, and he was able to dominate him on the inside and show his strength on the inside. And for those of you who don't know, Terrence Crawford grew up as a kid as a wrestler as well. He comes from a wrestling background, so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he fights Errol Spence Jr. and he outmuscles him on the inside. I think he's the only welterweight in the world who can actually outmuscle and outfight Errol Spence Jr. on the inside, and that's my bold prediction right there. Chase Athletics, what's up, champ? How you doing? Drop a comment down below. What do you think about Garcia and Spence and their pay-per-view buys and just all that stuff? But yeah, this fight right here with Khan is either gonna give Crawford more negotiating power or less negotiating power when they do negotiate that fight for Spence. So we'll see. Boxing fan, True School Sports, Errol Spence Jr., main man said they did 800,000. Look at the Instagram caption. Okay, so let's go on Instagram. Let's see what he's going on about here. Jay, who the hell is Jay Izone? 47,000 people, 800,000 homes later. We still rocking with the strap, man. My brother showed his ass. 800,000. Who is this guy? This guy with like 2,000 followers. Errol Spence follows him. He does food and catering. What the hell is this guy getting? I'm gonna follow this guy just for. I might have to DM this guy and see where he got 800,000 from. But yeah, if that's the case, man, if they really did 800,000 buys, which I highly doubt, but if they did, great. Then Errol Spence Jr. is the next pay-per-view star in America. He's gonna do 1.5 million against Pacquiao. Maybe even 2 if that's the case. All right, Duke, I appreciate it, man. Good seeing you. Take care, man. God bless. The real story is Arum is overprotecting Crawford. He didn't want to match him with either Crawford or Spence. Mikey showed holes Crawford could expose like Spence did. And Spence power isn't an Aaron Pryor. I think that's what you're saying. Isn't Aaron Pryor? I mean, first of all, every fight is different, man. I started to recognize around the Lamont Peterson fight that maybe Errol Spence Jr. wasn't quite the puncher that we cracked him up to be, because Lamont was walking forward for about a good 7 rounds before Errol broke him down and stopped him. So, you know, is Errol Spence Jr. a one-punch knockout artist? Absolutely not. But he breaks you down. And my thing with Crawford is, will he be able to stop Errol from breaking him down? Because if he can do that, and if he can do that and be the ring general and dictate the pace in which the fight is fought, he beats Errol Spence. It's that simple. If he doesn't, he loses. It's that simple. We'll see. We'll see though. You think he's overprotecting Crawford? How can he be protecting Crawford when he's fighting Khan his next fight? I mean, I know Khan. Okay, Khan is what he is. What he is. This is the same Khan that got dropped by Samuel Vargas' last fight. But he's fighting Khan, who's, you know, on his night when he's up for it and he switched on. For at least 3 to 4 rounds, the guy is a sensational fighter. The first 3 to 4 rounds of every fight he's ever been in, he's always been a sensational fighter. But that being said, Crawford is going to, you know, be tested a little bit. Khan is not trash. Khan's a capable fighter. I think, you know, he's failed to progress over the years. He's been chinned a lot. He hasn't really he refined his style as time has went on, like the great fighters are supposed to do. But in terms of hand speed, in terms of boxing skill, he can go in there and compete with. How many times has Khan been KO'd? Well, he got KO'd against Canelo, he got KO'd against Danny Garcia, he got KO'd against Breeders Prescott. So about three times, unless I'm missing one. Khan is the only American undisputed champion and deserves respect. Absolutely, you know. Granted, at 140, you know, he didn't really beat the creme de la creme at 140, but, you know, he won undisputed. We give him respect for that. I respect Crawford just because I think, in terms of the eye test, if you talk about the eye test, this guy destroys the eye test. The guy is great. The guy is fantastic. If Spence and Mikey are relatively equal skill-wise, going up in welterweight left Spence with his height and weight advantage over Garcia, why are people getting so excited about Spence's performance? The Punisher asked me that question. Well, to be fair, the Punisher, they weren't equal in skill. I don't know what fight you were watching. They weren't equal in skill. They do some of the same things similar, but they were not equal in skill. That's why it was proven on Fight Night, okay? That's why Spence shut the boy out, because they weren't equal in skill. Because if they were equal in skill, or if Mikey was more skilled, you know, it would have been a more competitive fight. But they weren't equal in skill because Mikey Garcia, and that's the biggest misconception I see about that fight. The biggest misconception I see about that fight is they say, oh, well, Mikey lost because Spence was the bigger man. No, Mikey lost because Errol Spence, from the word go, didn't allow this guy to establish any rhythm. He didn't allow him to do any of that. Errol Spence Jr. was dominating him by getting his inside right foot inside the inside or outside foot of Mikey Garcia's lead left foot, and he was able to be in proper position to punch, block, counter, whatever you wanted to do. He was in position to do it the whole entire night. That's true. That's all he needed to do. And not only did he do that, he mirrored him with the jab. He probed him with the jab. He stabbed him with the jab. He countered off the jab. He parried Mikey's jab. He punched off the parry. He outclassed Mikey Garcia in the skill department. And he could have stopped him if he wanted to, but he was content to just get the unanimous decision victory because he wanted to let the world know and show the world that not only is he a good fighter, but he's not just some KO artist or some guy that just bulldozes forward and bullies people. No. He is a legitimate A-level fighter. And we're talking about in terms of boxing skills, and he showed that on the night. Outclassed from the word go. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for what's gonna happen in the welterweight division. I'm really and genuinely hoping that, as you know, in the first quarter of 2020, we can get that Crawford versus Spence fight. He wasn't trying to knock out Mikey. He took this fight to showcase his skills. He was switching and everything. Exactly. Thank you, Jack Johnson. You're from the you rose from the dead. You rose from the grave to drop some boxing knowledge here on True School Sports. He was trying to basically just show his boxing skills, because he's never got credit for them. I've gone on and on and on about them because I was saying before the fight, how the hell, and I granted the Olympic team he made was very weak, but how the hell do you make the Olympic team for America with a pro style? And for those of you who follow amateur boxing, you know just what I'm talking about. You know, he has a pro style, but he still made the Olympic team. And yet, he has no boxing skills. I just didn't get it. Chase Athletics, you're asking me, did Porter lose to Ugas? I didn't score the fight, but when I watched it live, I thought Ugas did enough to win. But it was a close fight, but I thought Ugas won the fight. But I'm not calling it a robbery. I don't think it was a gross robbery or anything like that, but it was. I thought Ugas deserved a decision. I had to go back and watch it again and rescore it, but when I watched it the first time live, I thought Ugas won. Watch the fight over with no sound. I damn near shed a tear with how beautifully he boxed, from his position to his jab. I mean, I was live here on YouTube for that fight, okay? And it's kind of hard because, you know, I got this bright ass, there's four bright ass lights shining on my face while I'm here for lighting purposes. You know, I'm reading your guys' comments, I'm watching the fight, and I'm seeing what's going on. And I'm talking about what's going on as it's happening. So a little bit, my brain is working in 4 different ways as the fight's going on. And even I was able to see, with all that going on, you know, Spence is fighting a masterful fight from a technical boxing standpoint, which he looked great. Mikey was so arrogant, they laughed at Spence and kind of trolled him leading up to the fight. Yeah, they trolled him and they said, you know, boxing skills, and then, you know, you had boxing legends like George Foreman and Sugar Ray Leonard and all these guys saying that Mikey was going to outskill him. But again, I just think with Spence, because he's a big welterweight and because he has had to show his boxing skills, his style has been very misinterpreted. And I think on this night, you know, he showed people that there's more depth to his boxing skill set. Spence said he was going to KO Garcia, and he didn't. Yeah, he didn't. I thought he was going to KO Garcia. I thought he was going to iron him out. I was saying it all week, but hey, you got the decision. Outclassed him. Ugas did a lot of posturing, very little connecting, and got countered a lot. Had to rewatch again to see. Well, what I remember about that fight was I remember during the, I'm going to say the middle rounds, I'm going to say somewhere around round 6 going on, Ugas definitely, his work rate just dropped. It dropped, and he was looking for like counters. He was looking for counters left and right, you know, and it wasn't really, his punch output dropped. He wasn't pressing forward like he was in the early rounds. But it's your boy BT. It's 7:21 p.m. here in South Florida. This is actually our second live of the day. We were live earlier I was talking about Deontay Wilder and his whole DAZN thing and some of the details that came out about that. So if you didn't go see that, go back and watch that. For those of you wondering, I'll probably be live again tomorrow, probably sometime around same time, 11 a.m. Or maybe even a little later. I scratch that. Noon or 1 p.m. tomorrow we should be live, because I'm gonna be doing something at 11 a.m. tomorrow. But that style didn't look good for Sean Porter. Like when he tried to box and move, you know, he did. It was very reminiscent of the Adrian Granados fight, because in the Adrian Granados fight he fought a guy who was very similar to him, who likes to press and move and come forward, and he had a clear speed advantage of Adrian Granados. So the same way he fought against Ugaz, he fought pretty much the same way against Granados, and it was reminiscent of that fight for me. It didn't look good on him though. I would agree with you, Jack Johnson, coming back from the dead to drop boxing knowledge here on True School Sports. So yeah, that's just my take on the Spence Garcia pay-per-view. You know, good for them if the numbers are true. I think it'll be a box office smash hits when him and Pacquiao decide to fight. And overall, I think the fight will be a lot more entertaining. In fact, scratch that. I know the fight will be more entertaining than what we saw from him and Mikey Garcia, because Manny Pacquiao is a better fighter all the way around the board, even now at 40 years old, than Mikey Garcia. Hold on. Let's see if any new boxing news came out since the last time we were live. I think Porter will try to avoid Spence again. I think so too. I really think so too. And I was telling my friend, my friend Paul, my roommate, my best friend. I was trying to tell him, because we watched the fight together. I was trying to tell him I think Porter's days as WBC champion, even though they just began, are numbered. You know, I don't see him beating Errol Spence. I think he'd lose to Pacquiao. I think Mikey Garcia would give him a good fight, and Mikey Garcia came out and said that he thinks he'll be a welterweight champion. So I'm assuming that at some point in time, Mikey Garcia will try to go for a belt, and if he did go for a belt, the perfect opponent would be a Sean Porter, a guy who is smaller, a guy who's not an elite puncher at the weight, a guy that you can counter and you can outbox. You know, Kell Brooks showed that. Keith Thurman showed that. Let's see. So upcoming boxing news. Let's go to some boxing news. So. Jarrett Hurd versus Julian Williams. Let's see. Apparently that fight's almost done and finalized. Jarrett Hurd versus Julian Williams. An interesting fight at 154. They're saying May 11th. And that'll be in Washington, D.C. PBC on Fox. Headliner. Interesting. Okay. So that's a good fight if it comes off. Julian Williams is a guy with good hand speed. A guy that when people once thought would become the guy at 154. So good, solid scrap. It'll be in Washington, D.C. It'll be Jarrett Hurd's homecoming fight against a tough opponent. Let's see. We got what else? What else we got? Adrian Broner under fire after threatening to shoot gays. Jesus, Adrian Broner just can't stay out of trouble. Adrian Broner just can't stay out of trouble. Wow, so yeah, Adrian Broner is under fire right now because he pretty much just said that he's gonna shoot gay people in the face. Now look, you can have your views. You know, I don't agree with that and whatnot. I don't agree with that lifestyle, but you shouldn't be saying you're gonna shoot people on God. You know, straight up. But he's gonna get crucified for that. You know, his career is probably gonna come to an end really soon. What else? We got Dominic Brazil he sent gifts to the boxer who knocked out Deontay Wilder's brother. Hold on, let's see this. I gotta see what this is all about. Dominic Brazil playing no games, and you know Dominic Brazil control the hell out of Wilder if he wants to, and I might make a video about that soon. 15 ways Dominic Brazil controlled Deontay Wilder. So this is what it says on Boxing. I'm going to read you guys the article. The title of the article was Brazil sent gifts to the boxer who knocked out Wilder's brother. He said, here's what it says. Dominic Brazil was so thankful he mailed William Dietz a few tokens of his appreciation. Once Dietz knocked out Marcellus Wilder on January 26, Brazil sent Dietz a shirt, sweatpants, and a hat that bear Brazil's name, Trouble. Brazil wants to take out Dietz for a steak dinner too. That's how much Brazil enjoyed the journeyman's fourth round technical knockout of Deontay Wilder's younger brother. Brazil's beef with Marcellus Wilder stems from the melee Brazil believes Marcellus Wilder incited 2 years ago in the lobby of the Birmingham hotel. Brazil detailed Tuesday how Marcellus Wilder punched him on the back of the head during his late-night skirmish in February 2017. Their argument began at ringside at the nearby Legacy Arena, where Wilder stopped Gerald Washington and Brazil beat Izu Uganu by TKO on the same night of a Fox card. So here's what he said in regards to what happened when he found out Wilder's brother got knocked out by William Dietz. He said, I quote, "Oh man, I was so excited. I was so excited that I sent trouble gear to his opponent's home. I wanted to take him out to dinner to buy him a steak. For me, that was so bittersweet because, you know, karma, it happens. It's going to come full circle. For him to punch me in the back of the head and me have to think about that on a daily basis as a man, that's degrading, right? And the fact that on top of that is like you hit me in the back of the head, I don't know if I punch you. Well, she punched you in the back of the head. You go down, you probably stay down. I got back up, and I see this dude hightailing the hell out of there, right? So, I mean, if you're going to throw a punch, at least stick around and see. Give me a shot to get a rebuttal, right? So it was beautiful. It was beautiful that I just got news of that. I watch it, and I watch it. I walk into the game room of my house, and it's highlighted. It just runs on a reel, him getting knocked out. It's a beautiful thing. So there you have it. Dominic Brazil in full troll mode. He sent Deontay Wilder's brother's opponent, who knocked him out in of that fight, geared, his own branded, you know, Here Comes Trouble merchandise and gear. So, you know, pretty funny stuff from Dominic Brazil, and overall just really good stuff from him. I really hope Brazil goes in there and beats Wilder, man, honestly, at this point, because for one, I like a good upset. Two, I just really don't think Deontay Wilder's ever going to fight Anthony Joshua. And at this point, if you're not going to fight him for undisputed, what's the point of you holding the belt hostage? Chase Athletic said he will be there, and I'm assuming you're talking about the Jarrett Hurd Julian Williams fight. And if you're there, great. Shout out to you. Let me see. LA 112 says thoughts on the Charlos. I mean, the Charlos, I think they're good for boxing because boxing needs characters like the Charlos to make sure that it continues to thrive. You know, boxing needs people like that to hate on and to love. And I'll say this. Jermell Charlo, I always thought was overrated, and I've said that for a long time. He got with Derek James, and when he got with Derek James, he started knocking out fighters left, right, and center, and he began to believe his own hype. He began to believe his own press. You know, he knocked out Erickson Lubin. He knocked out John Jackson in a fight where he was getting outboxed. He knocked out Charles Hatley. But then when he fought a good, skilled, experienced boxer, Tony Harrison, you know, he got outboxed and he was exposed. So he's got to go back to the drawing board, and he's got to figure out how he can improve as a fighter. And we'll see, man. I'm not really a big fan of him, but the brother Jermall, the middleweight, I think he can fight. I think he can fight his ass off. I think he's a great fighter, a great talent. I don't want to say he's a great fighter. He's a great talent who can, you know, he has a chance to be a great fighter, but he needs to get in there with the top guys. He can control the fight, but he'll end up on the canvas just like Gerald Washington. You're talking about Dominic Brazil. I mean, his downfall in that fight for me, I think, is going to be his reflexes. I think his reflexes are a little bit too slow. He's always been, in most of his fights, a slow starter. But the one thing he has on his side is that he has that one-hitter quitter. And he can iron out Deontay Wilder with one punch. So, you know, we'll see. Who has more potential? Anthony Yarde or Joshua Buatsi? Now, that's the million-dollar question. You know, who has more potential? Right now, based on what you see from both of them, you want to say Joshua Buatsi. I mean, this is a guy that in Joshua Buatsi who fought in all the, you know, won amateur tournaments, you know, was just an incredibly skilled amateur boxer. In the pros has been nothing short of the goods, to say the least. And, you know, against a guy like, you know, and with Yarde, you know, when we look at Yarde, he's a guy who's the opposite of Buatsi. He had 12 amateur fights. He's taking his time, has a much more of a steep learning curve. But you look at him, and the guy has a lot of things going well for him. He punches the body well. He's incredibly fast. He's incredibly athletic. He's incredibly gifted. So I mean, that's a great question, man. It's hard for me to pick, but if I had to pick, I would definitely say I'll go Buatsi, man. I'll go Buatsi. I think Buatsi's skill set is just um, top notch, and I think he's gonna go very far. Yard, I mean, I don't know. Yard has all the talent, but I'm beginning to question his character and his team's character because I don't know if you guys saw today, but there was an interview that came out on IFL TV where Yard's manager is saying that, you know, they don't want to fight Kovalev because Kovalev, they're the A side, and they're afraid of American judges, and they want the fight at the Emirates Stadium in London where Arsenal plays. And I just think, what a load of crap. I mean, you're a guy who you haven't even stepped up to the British level yet. You haven't stepped up to the British level yet. You haven't even fought the Hosea Burtons. You haven't even fought the Caleb Johnsons, the Joshua Watts of the world. And then you get a chance to fight Kovalev because the WBO ordered the fight because you're the #1 contender. And you're gonna sit here and you're gonna tell Kovalev, you're gonna try to dictate to Kovalev of all people about judges, and you're afraid of the judges. I mean, if anybody is gonna be afraid of judges in that scenario, it should be Kovalev. He was the one who got robbed against Ward the first fight. He was the one who got punched in the balls and nothing happened in the second fight. So he should be the one that's afraid, not you. So I think it's a bunch of malarkey. It's a bunch of crap. Do not poke the bull. Brazil is about to be murdered. Okay. Well, I don't wish that on any man, but hopefully I hope Brazil just goes in there and gives a great fight. I'll laugh if Brazil wins and throws a wrench in all this madness. I would definitely say I think Brazil has a better chance at beating Wilder than I think Brazil has a better chance than Wilder at beating than Miller beating Joshua, because I think his power and the fact that Wilder is gonna be Wilder is gonna be more wild for this fight than I think any fight he's ever had, because it's really personal between them. So when you factor in that it's personal between them, that he has everybody talking trash about him with a Joshua, the zone deal that he turned down. You have people saying that he got outboxed by Fury. He's going to be livid coming into this fight, and if Brazil can time him with the right shot, he can get him out of there. He will. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Wilder will not. He's never been more wild for a fight than this one right here. Christian Lewis says, I heard that, BT. Yard can't sell out a small sports hall and wants the Arsenal Stadium. That's what I'm saying. And the Arsenal Emirates Stadium is huge. It's not no small stadium. It's huge. So yeah, like you can't. You just now graduated to fighting at the Royal Albert Hall, and now you think you can just go ahead and just go fight in the Emirates Stadium? Come on, let's be realistic here. No problem, Bobby. No problem. I'm happy to answer. Truthfully, I have to go watch more of Joshua Buatsi, but from the little bit I have seen, he looks like the total package, A-level fighter. A-level skill set. Can't say he's an A-level fighter because he hasn't done that. He hasn't done enough yet, as far as, you know, being those kind of opponents. But he has A-level talent for sure. Thoughts on Michael Hunter? Michael Hunter is really, really good. I remember when he fought Usyk, and he gave a decent account of himself in that fight. I think he took that fight a little bit too early in his career, but I think he'll get better from it, and he has a chance to do a lot in boxing. I mean, when we talk Michael Hunter, we're talking about a top U.S. amateur. We're talking about a guy that has all the ingredients to be a world champion. So, you know, I would expect nothing less from him, to be honest with you. 67,000 is the Arsenal Stadium. Yeah, it's a huge stadium. It's very, very huge. It's not like he's fighting at Goodison Park where Everton plays. You know, big shout out to Everton Football Club, the greatest club in the world. Goodison Park's like what, 37,000? You know, that's a massive stadium, Emirates Stadium. So there you have it. True BT, that's what I said. I have got $50 on Brazil to win. Listen, if I had money to bet, I would put some serious money on Brazil to win this fight. I think he's got a great chance of winning it. He'll be a live dog. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go through some more news. We got Josh Warrington going off on Kid Galahad. I know they had the big press conference yesterday. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I heard it was very eventful. He said, "We don't need people like Kid Galahad in our sport." Let's see. Let's go to the comments. What did Josh Warrington say about Kid Galahad? Because I know Kid Galahad has a checkered history with PEDs. Yeah, so Josh Warrington said that he was speaking on like that because if you guys know anything about Kid Galahad, in 2016 he got an 18-month ban for performance-enhancing drugs. Tested positive for a couple things. Here's what he said. He said, I quote, "This sport is hard enough. People go in the ring with their and put their lives on the line. Some people don't come out. The last thing we need is someone trying to get that extra inch. He makes no remorse. He's been banned. The sport doesn't need people like that. We need characters, entertainers. We don't need people like him." So there you go. Josh Warrington pulling no punches with Kid Galahad. That's actually an interesting fight for Kid Galahad. And for Josh Warrington, you know, he's a guy who's one of boxing's true warriors right now, one of boxing's true champions. You know, the guy upset Lee Selby as an underdog. You know, fought Crawford in a fight where people thought he was way in over his head. So he's a legit champion. And a guy like Kid Galahad, you know, who can punch, should be an interesting fight. Do you still consider Errol Spence a boogeyman? Not really, because Crawford's chasing him, and Pacquiao wants him. So no, he's not a boogeyman, but he's a top fighter. He delayed turning pro after the Olympics until he finished his degree. For me, Buatsi is our best prospect, or maybe Josh Kelly. Yeah, I know, and Buati's a very smart man. That's why, and it comes off really well in his fights. He's a very intelligent person in general, as well as boxing. So he's very well experienced in life, very well experienced in the ring. And I see nothing but great things for him in his career. He's someone, to me, that I think will definitely be challenging for world titles and giving all the best at light heavyweight all they can handle. Josh Kelly, I like him. I'm holding out hope that maybe your best welterweight prospect will fight our best welterweight prospect in Jaron Ennis. You know, I think that'd be a great fight. That to me that's like the next great fight at welterweight, like years down the line. Just so long as these guys keep doing what they're doing. But it's your boy BT, True School Sports. We're here live for the second time today, talking about the Errol Spence pay-per-view buys and amongst other things in boxing. I'm about to get off here within the next 5 minutes, so you guys drop your comments down below, and I'm gonna definitely answer your guys' questions, and then probably go lay down, get some rest, because I've been working really hard today on True School Sports. But yeah, I like Buatsi a lot. I might go watch, now that you brought him up, now that you brought him up and I realized I need to go watch some more film on him, I might go watch some fights on him when I'm done with this. Oscar Rivas thoughts. Oscar Rivas is a very good fighter. One thing I like about Oscar Rivas is that he presses forward really, really well. He's a shorter heavyweight. He's compact. He's kind of cut more from that David Tua mold, but he punches very, very hard for the weight. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see him beat Bryant Jennings. You know, I thought he'd be a live dog in that fight, but I thought Jennings' skill set and I thought Jennings' skill and his craft would be enough to hold Rivas off for 12 rounds. And ultimately it didn't. So, you know, I think he'll be someone that he'll probably be a Tyson Fury opponent in the future. And I think his power, his craft, his ability to land the right shots, it'll pose a lot of problem. It could pose a problem for Fury because Fury's not the most durable guy in the world as far as his chin speaking. So it could be an interesting fight down the line. Who's your pick? Tank Davis, Lopez, or Devin Haney? You're asking me who I think will be the best prospect out of those three. Honestly, no doubt about it. Take it to the bank. Teofimo Lopez, man. I think Teofimo Lopez. When I look at him, I see a guy that can do it all. I see a guy that reminds me a lot of Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather. He has that same skill set from his counter punching to his ability to box on the outside, to his ring IQ, to all the way down to his confidence. You know, he's very reminiscent to me of a Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather. I don't think he's as good, obviously, but I think he reminds me a lot of him. Tank Davis, you know, I think his undoing is going to be the fact that he is not disciplined, and from a boxing standpoint, he has not learned how to fight outside the pocket. So when Tank Davis meets a fighter that will not allow him to fight inside the pocket as much, I think that'll be the day he loses. And as Devin Haney, he's really good himself, but I think he's just way too arrogant. I think he's too arrogant, and yeah. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I think his mentality will be his undoing. BT, have you heard of Rosby Ramirez? Waiting to see whether he'll turn pro. Yes, I know about Rosby Ramirez. He was the guy that beat Shakur Stevenson in the gold medal match of the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything about him since he turned since that fight. You know, but a lot of people want to see him turn pro because he's a very good fighter. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have won another gold medal as well before the last Olympics. So yeah, I know about Rosby Ramirez. Exactly, yeah. So I was correct. 2-time gold medalist. The guy has done really well for himself. You know, he's kind of reminiscent of because there have been a lot of Cuban fighters like that. There was in the heavyweight division there was 2 fighters like that where they won multiple gold medals and didn't turn pro. You had Felix Savon, and if you don't know who Felix Savon is, I would highly implore you to go look him up. Felix Savon beat Shannon Briggs, beat the shit out of Shannon Briggs, beat a bunch of really good heavyweights that would go on to be good pros and in some cases world champions. So he was good. You had Teofilio Stevenson, who won 3 gold medals. He won 3 gold medals, never turned pro. Muhammad Ali actually wanted to fight him, and they offered him about $3 million, $4 million to actually fight Muhammad Ali for his first pro fight. So that's how good he was. And Rosby Ramirez, he's kind of in that lineage of those guys. Fat Apples says, I think the numbers are being fixed. I didn't actually see official numbers for Wilder Fury, just an unrealistic estimation, which I heard was around 275 in reality. The number that I got after just researching about Fat Apples was 325. 325 is what I got for the Fury Wilder, and the numbers for Broner versus Pacquiao are 400K. But yeah, PBC pay-per-view buys, it's hard to find like exact figures with their pay-per-view buys. I've noticed that, so it's kind of fishy. It's got fishy stuff going on there at PBC. Mr. Boxing today, what's up, champ? How you doing, man? He said Felix Savon stopped to in the amateurs as well. Exactly. Felix Savon was that guy. You know, I'm thinking one day I might just do a big video about Felix Savon, because you'd be surprised how many people who actually like don't know about Felix Savon or Teofilio Stevenson, like. And it surprised me because there's people that I know in boxing, like well-respected members of the media, who I respect their opinions on boxing. They have boxing knowledge, and I brought up Felix Savon to them, and they had no clue who the hell I was talking about. I brought up Teofilio Stevenson, and they had no clue who I was talking about. So that might be my next project for here on True School Sports. Maybe like a long, drawn-out video of those guys. But it's getting pretty. I mean, I've been here live for 63 minutes. I'm getting a bit tired. I'm probably gonna get off here in about 2 minutes. But I want to answer Mr. Boxing today's last comment. Savon was being offered the Tyson fight after the 96 games. Don King was trying to put it together. That's interesting. Yeah. That would have been a very interesting fight. You know, Savon versus Tyson. I mean, you have a guy who won, what, 2 gold medals? Who beat all these guys fighting a guy at the time in Tyson who was the engine that ran boxing financially. You know, he was that guy, money-wise. He was a money guy. You know, that would probably be I'm going to write that one down, actually. That'd probably be a good question to ask Stacey McKinley if I ever see him. I'm going to write that one down. Let's see. Don King setting up Savon versus Tyson in 1996. I'm going to ask him if he knows anything about that. Ask Stacy. Ask Stacy. I know. I remember. I actually remember your video on that a couple years ago, Mr. Boxing Today. But I'm gonna ask Stacy McKinley about that. Maybe he might know something about that, because I know he was with Mr. Stacy McKinley's first fight with Tyson was a Peter McNeely fight, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Boxing Today, but that had to have been around '96. So around the time Stacy McKinley was training Tyson, that fight with Savone was trying to be set up. So I'd love to probably pick his brain about that if he knows anything about it. Thoughts on the World Boxing Super Series scene? I think it's great. Starting with the 118 pounders, you know, Nayo the Monster Inoue. There's some really good fights out there for him. I want to see him fight Emmanuel Rodriguez, which I think is his next fight. Yeah, I think it's good for him to get in there with the top 118 pounders in the world and see if he's truly the best guy in the division. As far as 140 pounders, that's the one I'm more excited about, because in that tournament, in that part of the tournament, you have, in my humble opinion, what is one of the best fights in boxing to be made between Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis. But they both got to win their next fights, and they're both not gimmies. They're both tough fights, both of them. You have Prograis fighting Kyle Relic. You got Taylor fighting Ivan the Beast Baranchek. So, I don't know, man. Fingers crossed they get through. I want to see that fight real bad. But overall, I think it's been really good for boxing, the World Boxing Super Series. And hopefully they can continue getting it going and making it bigger, and hopefully it comes here to the States and it can succeed. It'd be great if they can do that for the welterweight tournament, for the welterweight division, but I just highly doubt that it'll happen, because too many Al Haymon fighters. I don't think Al Haymon will work with Chael Sonnen and those guys. Yeah, we won't talk about that, man. It's been talked about enough today and then a bunch of other channels, so we won't talk about that. But on that note, I'm going to get off, guys. It was great talking to you guys. Stay tuned to the channel. There's plenty of videos coming out. I got videos coming out, I got like 6 videos scheduled to come out, so you go watch that. I'll be live tomorrow, more than likely. Take care, Mr. Boxing Today. I really appreciate it, man. Go subscribe to Mr. Boxing Today if you haven't already. Great channel over there, an authority on heavyweight boxing. But yeah, take the time to subscribe. It's your boy BT, and like I say in every